Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about the all defense down skill effect because it's one of the most powerful PvE kind of world boss ultimate, ABX, Shadowland skill effects in the game, and it's become more and more popular with super powerful characters, and it's honestly, frankly, the reason why certain characters like Deadpool are so strong. But it's not applied equally among all characters that have it, and even among characters that have it, it doesn't actually apply to bosses and to different game modes in the same way. It's actually quite inconsistent. We still don't know everything about all defense down, how it works, how it's calculated, how the duration is set, and sometimes fluctuates. It lasts longer, it lasts less time, it ends early, and it's pretty bizarre. So I wanted to shine a light on it, I wanted to talk about it, I wanted to list all the characters that do and don't have all defense down. That means all the characters that have it on their skill, and then all the characters that have it that actually apply to world bosses where it's most frequently used. And it's more popular now than ever because we're even seeing people take advantage of it in comboing. So we've got that guy who cleared a stage 84 Corvus World Boss Ultimate with Sharon Rogers Tier 3, Deadpool Tier 3, and White Fox Leadership. And I think today he released a stage 99 video for Corvus. So he was actually, kudos to him or her, whoever they are, big clap. They beat the last stage for Corvus in World Boss Ultimate. The most difficult Corvus World Boss Ultimate stage has been taken down using a combination of her disgusting Tier 3 skill, Legendary Defender, and Deadpool's Tier 3 and, you know, third skill, first skill, all defense down stacking. So it's a very important mechanic to understand. It's a very important mechanic to keep track of for characters and to understand which ones you should be utilizing it on and which ones you don't necessarily need to worry about or hope that they get patched in the future if you care. So this is the full list of characters who have all defense down, and it does apply to World Boss Ultimate, which I think is the most important game mode to be able to test this in, because there's no restrictions on World Boss Ultimate. You can bring any character in. It's not as important for Shadowland and Alliance Battle Extreme because every Shadowland stage and every day of Alliance Battle Extreme has different set restrictions, so you can't necessarily bring the same characters in anyways. Additionally, ABX, Alliance Battle Extreme, has some weird kind of crowd control effects where the Frost Beast loses the all defense down very, very quickly. His removed debuff duration or reduced debuff duration is like 100%. So World Boss is really the most important game mode. You guys already know about Deadpool, Scarlet Witch's fourth skill. Now I'm going to talk briefly about Scarlet Witch because I'm not talking about any other kinds of all defense down. I'm not talking about mind damage or mind resistance down. I'm not talking about any sort of elemental resistance down. I'm only talking about either energy defense down, physical defense down, or all defense down. Now, of course, all defense down is way better than any other type. But it is important to know that I'm not referring to those when I'm referring to Scarlet Witch. I'm only referring to her fourth skill that has the 8% up to -50 for 5 seconds on Power of Chaos. So, you know, you've got the obvious ones: Doom, Human Torch, Weapon Hex, Sabretooth, and you keep going down the list. We've got some ones that are a little bit more surprising. So if you guys don't know, for example, Phantom X's fifth skill has -5 all the way up to -25. Not a huge number, but it's nice that he has -25 for 10 seconds, which is quite long. Way back, you know, you had Nova really dominating PvP and PvE because that second skill literally has every debuff in the game. In addition to Ignore Iframe, it's got 100% chance penetration, and of course it's got that -30 all defense for 5 seconds. But there are even some that are unlisted, so for these you have to go in-game and test. But for example, if you have Thor's Ragnarok uniform equipped specifically, and you use Anger Burst, it's not listed here, but if we go into a match now, you will see that his skill does apply on all defense down. So we're going to jump into a stage 30 with Proxima here. I'm doing this on purpose to show you guys a couple of things here. We're going to use Cull Obsidian, Wolverine, and we're going to use our dearly beloved Hulk Ragnarok. He doesn't get much use anymore, but he does get some now and then. But this is really the biggest issue with the all defense down. It doesn't apply evenly, and so Wolverine's sixth skill and Cull Obsidian's fourth skill both have all defense down listed on the skill effects, whereas Hulk doesn't have an all defense down listed. So it's kind of weird. In Hulk's case, use his fifth skill, and you can see the all defense down stacking -10 all the way up to -30. So right now, she's got a -30 all defense down. Great job, Hulk. Awesome. We go over to Wolverine. This is going to take a little bit more time, but if we power through his skills here, it's very flashy, very beautiful. He does have a CTP of regeneration, so his damage is not going to be as flashy, but it's still pretty good because it's a stage 30. It's a pretty low stage. But now we've got the tier 3 skill activated. We press it, and you can see there's little gray text there, all defense down, immune, and you can see there's no blue up here above her HP bar because he's not applying all defense down. That's really weird. So we switch to Cull Obsidian. Okay, Cull Obsidian's 4th skill definitely has all defense down. I use it on Shadowland all the time. All defense can stack immune. And you guys just saw it there. It's the same gray text in between the messages that you're seeing for the damage numbers, and you see it there again. And it's the same thing you saw for Wolverine's tier 3 skill, except I'm going to show you guys this one more time because it charges really fast. It doesn't take 20 seconds to charge like Wolverine's does. So that is really annoying, and it's frustrating, and it's misleading. It's stupid. I don't know why Netmarble does this. It all started with mind control, and technically it started with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was one of the first characters, or if not one of the first character introduced, whose abilities, his crowd control effects, applied to world bosses. So his time freeze, his divine, no, what is it? Master of the Mystic Arts, this applies to world bosses. And before that, we couldn't web them, we couldn't snare them, we couldn't stun them. Then we got Enchantress, if you guys remember a little while later, we got Enchantress who could charm them. And suddenly we can mind control world bosses and keep them frozen there using her spellbound charm from Maiden's Farewell. And we've gotten a lot since then. We've gotten a lot of characters who can charm world bosses. Of course, Scarlet Witch is a big one. Tons of mind control, you know, Invisible Woman, Psylocke. There's a long list of characters now who can crowd control bosses, and you even have characters who don't have mind control. They're not kind of telepathic effects, like Deadpool himself with quick work. That 1.7 seconds of paralyze also works on world bosses. It applies to all enemies. But then you have other things that don't, and there's really no reason for them not to. So now I'm going to throw up a different list. This is the list, and this is a longer list, sadly, it looks longer I think, of characters who have all defense down and cannot apply it to World Boss and World Boss Ultimate. And this list is probably the more annoying list, because if you take a look and you read through the names, and I'll just pick a few here, you know, randomly: Bullseye, Lash, Hogan, Valkyrie, Destroyer, Blade, Sister Grimm. A lot of these characters suck balls. They're terrible characters in this game. And you know what? They wouldn't be powerhouses if they had this all defense down and it worked on world bosses. But they would be better. They would be possibly usable. I don't mean to cry too hard because, of course, Wolverine is at the top of the list. Adamantium Fury. I thought it applied all defense down. I was playing him in World Boss Ultimate with other strikers that were applying all defense down, so it's difficult to tell. There's so many stacks. You've got, you know, Invisible Woman with all defense down, Scarlet Witch, and Deadpool all on the same team, so it's really hard to see. But yeah, if you try him without any strikers, it's not happening. It's not applying. It's just not, and it doesn't make any sense. It says applies to enemies, so there's no difference in the wording. And when there's no difference in the wording, then you look at other things. Okay, well, Wolverine's all defense down is minus 50%. It's the full number, right? It's minus 50 up to minus 50. So it's just one hit immediately applies the full amount. And if you compare that to Deadpool's is a minus 3 up to 100, or a minus 10 up to 50, or a minus 15 up to 50. So those are smaller numbers that build up to the larger number. Okay, so maybe what the problem is that skills that apply the full amount, those don't work. And you have to have a small incremental buff that actually does work. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other characters that have this all defense down. Colossus, it works. Hulk is not even listed, so that's pretty bullshit, because we don't even know that he has a 10% all defense down on Anger Burst up to a minus 30. Then you take a look at some of the characters that have it listed where it doesn't do anything. So this one, again, it's a minus 35 decrease all defense for 10 seconds. It's worded differently from Wolverine's, and it's also worded differently from Gambit's and Deadpool's. It doesn't say that it stacks, but we know from the previous Arachnite video that his also does not apply to world bosses. Okay, what about Iron Hammer's? Iron Hammer's 4th skill, it's a minus 1%, so maybe that's the case. But then you go and you look at someone like Cull Obsidian, which is why I included him in the comparison with Wolverine. he has a minus 10% decrease all defense up to minus 45. So he has the same sort of incremental all defense down as Deadpool and Iron Hammer and these other characters, and yet it doesn't work. So it doesn't make any sense. The rules are not applying evenly. The wording is not being applied evenly. There's basically no reason. It's either random or it's intentional, but it's implicit, which means it's being intentionally hidden from the players, which is really dumb. And especially for those kind of, you know, weak slash semi-weak characters, you know, I don't know, would Spider-Man be worth it to tier 3 if his tier 3 skill actually did apply the all defense down? It's not a lot of all defense down. It's only 20% for 3 seconds, but you know, we don't know because it doesn't apply to world bosses, which is stupid as hell. Iron Man is another example of the exact same thing. He's got minus 20% for 3 seconds. He takes after his protege, and it also does not apply to world bosses. Same thing with Ant-Man, and I tested this myself. His all defense down on maximum size, the minus 15 that stacks up to minus 30. Again, it's worded the same way as Deadpool's. Does it work against Proxima or any other world boss? You bet your ass it does not. And his third skill, all defense down as well, does not work. Now this one you can kind of understand because it physically shrinks the size of the boss, but none of it works. None of the debuff works. So it's really bizarre. I don't really have too much more to offer on this because I don't work for Netmarble, so I don't know what the devs were thinking with these. But taking a look at the list of characters that have it applied to them, you know, Killmonger's not that great of a character. She-Hulk, Morgan Le Fay, Warpath. Some of these characters are premium. Some of these characters are free to play. Some of these characters are only having it apply on uniforms. So for example, if you take off Thor Ragnarok or Hulk Ragnarok, none of these other uniforms have the all defense down on the 5th skill. So it's really, it feels and it seems completely random. I mean, why would you give all defense, no offense to Goliath, but why would you give all defense down to Goliath with his 4th skill, minus 35%, and not give it to Wolverine? What exactly is it about Goliath's 4th skill that's applying all defense? How much stronger is Goliath than Wolverine? What about Captain America with his 6th skill, Heroic Charge? One of the best skills in the game. Also doesn't apply all defense down to world bosses. It applies all defense down, but doesn't work on world bosses. So it's a really strange occurrence. I wanted to do this video partially because I've been telling you guys in a couple of other videos that his all defense down does work on world bosses. It doesn't, but I'm using him for PvP anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. The accumulation still works, but that's a completely different situation. That's the buff, that's the self buff to himself. But yeah, I wanted to take a deeper look into it because I don't want to just make a video crying about Wolverine. I mean, it's good for me, but it's not really helpful for you guys. So this is a full list of all the characters one more time who have all defense down on their skills. And keep in mind, the all defense down is usually a number as a percentage, but sometimes it's a number, not a percentage. I know that sounds really weird, but for example, Bullseye, he just gives a minus 500 all defense decrease. A couple of other characters that do this, X-23 does it as well, where it's just a percentage that's listed, or sorry, it's a number that's listed rather than a percentage. She has it on her 3rd skill. Same thing, except it's more than Bullseye. These effects seem to suck, whether they apply or not. So both in Bullseye and X-23's case, they don't apply, and also in Yondu's case, it's a flat number and it doesn't apply. But in their case, even if it did apply, it would suck. It really does not lower their defense by a meaningful amount. The percentage is far and away a much better debuff, and you can test that in Shadowland for yourself, where it does apply to all enemies. But yeah, one more time, all defense down on the skill, and it does apply to world bosses, so you should try to use it just before your proc, or you should try to use it on your proc for more damage. Like for example, Miles 3 cancel 5 or 3 cancel delay 5. 3 delayed cancel 5 is much better than just 5 for your proc. And then on the other side, you have characters with all defense down. They're just teasing you. They're just joking around, man. It's just a prank. They have it listed, or in Hulk's case, it's not listed, but it doesn't work. And in Hulk's case, it's unlisted, but it does work, which fuck if I know what that means. So let me know what you guys think of this. Netmarble, if you want to comment on it, I would love to see a community post explaining the hell you guys are smoking when it comes to all defense down. I would prefer if you guys just made it applicable to all of these characters and rather than taking it away from any characters, because one, nobody wants to see their character get nerfed, and two, none of the characters that are on the cannot apply list are going to become gods if you give them the all defense down. I don't think Blade with his 70s uniform is going to suddenly turn into a monster of World Boss Ultimate if you happen to give him a, what is it, like 10% all defense down that he has listed on his first skill when you play him in other content like Shadowland. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let Netmarble know what you think on Twitter and on the official forums. Subscribe if you enjoyed the content and you want to support me. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Writes Angry Post. Take care.